Many Fire Emblem games have a Jagen character, which is a common character archetype that appears in many Fire Emblem games. The prime example, of course, is Jagen himself from Fire Emblem 1 and 11, and others include Aaron from Fire Emblem 3 and 12, and Marcus from Fire Emblem 6. So, what is a Jagen? Typically, a Jagen is defined by being a powerful early unit that joins really early and starts strong immediately when you get them. They fall off in the late game, often by having poor speed, and you typically stop using them as you approach the mid-game or end-game. They are generally an XP sink, or grow slowly, or are generally an inefficient way of allocating XP, especially early on. Most of the time, they're also physically old, or at least noticeably older than your other characters. The Oifi variant of a Jagen, however, is one that generally stays good and can be used until the end of the game, and these include the eponymous Oifi from Fire Emblem 4, Marcus from Fire Emblem 7, Seth from Fire Emblem 8, etc. Regardless of this, the gameplay function of a Jagen generally remains the same. They carry you through the early chapters, they help you set up kills and feed XP to train your other characters, they add cast diversity to make your army less homogeneously filled with plucky anime teenagers. Fire Emblem Fates doesn't really have a Jagen character. The most likely candidates others might point to are Jacob and Felicia, who are strong and arrive early, but they aren't old and they do not start strong and they must be trained from level 1. Gunter fits the physical description of being an old man, but not the function of arriving early or being a strong unit. In the Conquest route, he arrives very late in chapter 15. In the Revelation route, he arrives early but is also very weak, even compared to your other starting characters. And in Birthright, he doesn't show up at all. I make the case that Fire Emblem Fates' Jagen is not a character, but is in fact Corrin's Dragonstone, an equipable weapon that only Corrin can use. And here's my logic. You obtain the Dragonstone in chapter 5 and have it right at the game's route split, which is arguably the real start of the game. The Dragonstone has 14 might and is very powerful early on. It is very good against many early game enemies that are weak against magical damage, and provides a very valuable defensive bonus. It helps carry you through the early chapters and helps you set up kills for your other characters, because most of the time, you'll just barely not one-shot enemies, allowing you to take the kill with someone else. It falls off in the mid to late game, mostly because the inability to double enemies is inconvenient and the speed penalty is a liability. You stop using it entirely in many runs, since many players will choose to class change Corrin away from their base class line, locking them out of Dragonstone usage. It is also very likely that Corrin will become one of your highest level characters even early on, and due to the way the XP scaling works in Fire Emblem Fates, killing enemies with Corrin will quickly become an XP sink and an inefficient way of allocating kills. Also, Jagens are generally old, and Corrin's Dragonstone is a rock. Rocks are generally old. For example, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is, as of this video's creation, 49 years old. Corrin's Dragonstone also looks like some sort of gem, and most gemstones on Earth were formed at the range of millions to billions of years ago. This particular Dragonstone's age is indeterminate, but I'd say the odds of it being old are fairly good. The Dragonstone also adds flavor to the cast because only by its use are you allowed to use a Manakete, either by Corrin or one of their children. It is also a rock. How many of your other characters are rocks? So, Corrin's Dragonstone fits a lot of the criteria that I mentioned earlier, and that's why I think of Corrin's Dragonstone as a Jagen. And now you might ask, what the fuck are you on about? Why does this matter? And my answer is that many of the functions that you will expect of a Jagen character in another Fire Emblem game are mirrored by the Dragonstone. I generally suggest that you use Corrin's Dragonstone kind of like a Jagen to help bolster your early game team and train your other characters, but to stop using it later once you reclass and pivot into your desired Corrin build. Anyway, I'm Excelblum, thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next one.